Hello everyone. Today, I want to share a powerful story with you. A story about a young man who discovered a secret that changed his life forever. A secret so simple, yet so powerful, that it can help anyone overcome stress, fear, confusion, and The secret was this: to move forward in life, sometimes you must first empty your mind. Let's begin. In a beautiful town nestled between mountains and rivers, lived a young man named Kabir. Kabir was ambitious. He wanted to succeed, become wealthy, make his family proud, and achieve something great in life. Every morning he woke up with new goals. He read books, watched motivational videos, listened to successful people, and attended every seminar he could find. But strangely, despite learning so much, his life wasn't improving. The more information he collected, the more confused he became. One expert said, "Take risks." Another said, "Play safe." One book taught him to work harder. Another taught him to work smarter. One mentor said, "Follow your passion." Another said, "Follow opportunities." His mind became crowded with thousands of thoughts. Every night he lay awake in bed, thinking, "What should I do? Am I making the right decision? What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm wasting my time?" His mind never rested. Days became weeks, weeks became months. The harder he tried to find answers, the more lost he felt. One afternoon, exhausted and frustrated, Kabir left the town and walked into the nearby mountains. After hours of walking, he came across a small cottage beside a peaceful lake. Outside the cottage sat an old monk. The monk looked calm, relaxed, and completely at peace. Kabir felt drawn toward him. He walked closer and said, "Master, I need your help." The monk smiled. "What troubles you, young man?" Kabir sat down and began speaking. For nearly an hour, he poured out everything: his fears, his worries, his ambitions, his failures, his confusion, and his endless thoughts. The monk listened quietly, without interrupting. When Kabir finally finished, he said, "Master, my mind never stops. I keep thinking and thinking, but I cannot find peace. Please tell me how to succeed." The monk nodded. Then he stood up and invited Kabir inside. In the cottage was a small wooden table. The monk placed an empty cup on the table and began pouring tea into it. The cup quickly filled, but the monk continued pouring. Tea spilled over the edges. It flowed onto the table, then onto the floor. Kabir jumped up. "Master, stop. The cup is already full. It cannot hold any more tea." The monk stopped pouring and smiled. "Exactly." Kabir looked confused. The monk pointed to the overflowing cup and said, "Your mind is just like this cup. It is already overflowing with thoughts, worries, opinions, fears, and expectations. You keep trying to add more knowledge, more advice, more information, but there is no space left." Kabir remained silent. The monk continued, "Before you can receive clarity, you must first empty your mind." Those words struck Kabir deeply. "But how?" he asked. "How can I empty my mind?" The monk pointed toward the lake outside and said, "Come with me tomorrow morning." The next day before sunrise, Kabir met the monk beside the lake. The water was perfectly still. The surface reflected the mountains like a mirror. The monk picked up a stone and threw it into the lake. Ripples spread everywhere. The reflection disappeared. The water became disturbed. Then the monk asked, "Can you see the mountains clearly now?" "No," Kabir replied. "Why not?" "Because the water is moving." The monk nodded. "Exactly." Then he pointed to the lake and said, "Wait." For several minutes they stood silently. Slowly the ripples disappeared. The water became calm again. Once more, the mountains reflected perfectly on the surface. The monk asked, "And now I can see them clearly." The monk looked into Kabir's eyes and said, "The lake is your mind. When your thoughts constantly race, you cannot see reality clearly. You cannot make good decisions. You cannot recognize opportunities. You cannot hear your inner wisdom. But when the mind becomes still, clarity appears naturally." Kabir listened carefully. For the first time in months, he wasn't trying to argue. He wasn't searching for another answer. He was simply listening. The monk then gave him a challenge. For the next 30 days, spend 1 hour each morning sitting quietly beside this lake. No books, no phone, no planning, no worrying. Just sit and observe. Kabir wasn't sure it would help, but he agreed. The first few days were difficult. The moment he sat down, thousands of thoughts attacked him: memories, fears, regrets, dreams, and questions. His mind jumped from one thought to another like a restless monkey, but he continued showing up every morning. Gradually, something began to change. The thoughts became slower. The noise became quieter. The pressure inside his head started fading. For the first time in years, he experienced moments of complete silence. And in that silence, something amazing happened. He began understanding himself. He realized many of his fears weren't real. Many of his worries were imaginary. Many of his goals weren't even his own. They were expectations borrowed from others. As his mind emptied, clarity filled the space. He suddenly knew what mattered most. He knew what kind of life he wanted. He knew where to focus his energy. 30 days later, Kabir returned to the monk. His face looked different, calmer, lighter, and more confident. The monk smiled and asked, "What have you learned?" Kabir answered, "I spent years trying to control life. I spent years chasing answers. But the answers appeared only when I stopped chasing them." The monk nodded, because wisdom grows in silence. Years passed. Kabir eventually became successful. But his greatest achievement wasn't wealth. It wasn't fame. It wasn't recognition. His greatest achievement was mastering his own mind. Whenever life became stressful, he paused. Whenever confusion appeared, he became still. Whenever fear entered, he emptied his mind before making decisions. And because of that, he saw opportunities others missed. He found peace when others panicked. He found direction when others felt lost. And that made all the difference. So if you are feeling overwhelmed today, if your mind is crowded with worries, fears, doubts, and endless thoughts, remember Kabir's story. A full cup cannot receive more tea. A disturbed lake cannot reflect the mountains. And a crowded mind cannot find clarity. Take a few moments each day to sit quietly. Let the noise settle. Let the worries pass. Let the unnecessary thoughts go. Because sometimes the greatest solution is not to think more, it is to think less. Empty your mind, and you may discover that the answers you have been searching for were already within you. Thank you for listening.